Back in 1999, we got to meet Lester Berman in the movie American Beauty. Now, Lester at first appears to be the typical suburban patriarch with a two-story house, white picket fence, and perfectly manicured lawn. But underneath this facade of comfort and privilege, we find a man deeply in crisis. Every morning, he wakes up hating his life, dreading to go to his corporate job, resenting his wife, and feeling alienated from his daughter. He feels a sense of hopelessness and deep emasculation at being a cog in the corporate ladder. His disillusionment eventually reaches a breaking point. He quits his job, he blackmails his boss, and in a moment of utter absurdity, starts working at a fast food drive-thru. He drives his wife into the arms of another man while fantasizing of having an affair of his own. To say that Lester is having a midlife crisis would be a spectacular understatement. Ironically, the movie American Beauty showed us a great deal of the ugliness in American culture. It held up no pretenses as it showed our perfect American dream infected by infidelity, broken relationships, persistent dissatisfaction, and drug and alcohol abuse. By the end of the movie, I found myself asking the question, where does this ugliness come from? In Lester's case, I truly believe the problem was in his vision. In reflecting on his life, he could see only drudgery and despair instead of the blessings of good health, financial security, and a loving family. He has so much abundance, but he's utterly blind to it. He cannot see that profound beauty truly does exist in his life. Now, problems of vision also exist in our tradition. In Genesis, while Jacob wanders in the wilderness, he falls asleep, resting his head on an unassuming rock. In a dream, he sees the famous ladder with the angels ascending to heaven, and in the midst of this spectacular vision, God promises Jacob that he will always be with him. And when Jacob wakes up, he exclaims, "Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh ve'anochi lo yadati." God was in this place, and I didn't know. In the banality of his journey, Jacob could not see that the sacred was right in the place that he rested. Like Lester, his vision was limited, and he missed out on so much beauty because he did not allow his vision to transcend the mundane. Of course, these stories of Jacob and Lester aren't just about them. They're our stories as well. Consider an experiment the Washington Post performed in 2007. A young man, unassuming in appearance, performed on his violin at a DC metro stop during morning rush hour. His performance lasted 43 minutes and encompassed 6 pieces of exquisite classical music. Over 1,000 people walked by. 6 stopped to listen. 20 dropped money into his cap without stopping, and then the rest rushed by without even noticing that he was there. In total, he earned $32.17. Now, this unassuming young man, whose performance was clearly a flop, was Joshua Bell, one of the most celebrated musicians of our time. 2 nights before his subway performance, he played a sold-out $100 per seat concert in Boston, and several months afterwards, he was awarded the Avery Fisher Prize, given to the greatest classical musician in America. The DC commuters were in the presence of something sacred. They didn't know it. The story epitomizes our rather shocking ability to tune out the beauty around us. Many people who rush through the motions of their lives develop a tunnel vision, unable to see and connect with the world around them. This trait has been exacerbated in recent years by a cultural shift, largely fueled by technology and social media. Teenagers send and receive an average of 88 text messages every day, and the expectation of instant response in the corporate world has gotten nearly everyone addicted to checking their phones constantly. We are inextricably connected to one another, but only through our computer screens. Interacting with the people right in front of us has become rarer and more difficult as we close ourselves off into technological bubbles. One unintended result of this is that even though we have more ways of connecting to each other than ever, we've never felt so alone. A recent article in Psychology Today asserts that an epidemic of depression and suicide has emerged in our country, an inevitable result of our increasing alienation from each other. We get caught up in maintaining shallow, remote connections and fail to truly see each other. Like Jacob, we miss out on so much beauty right in front of us. As we reflect on our lives on this Day of Atonement, I want to draw our attention to one of the sins that we all confess to during the Ashamnu, Nyatsnu. We spurned and showed contempt for what is sacred. When confronted with the beauty in our lives, we failed to acknowledge it. We could not see the sacredness in our relationships and took them for granted. We failed to make positive associations with our work and instead denigrated it to toil. When did we treat the sunrise, the baby's laugh, the twinkle in someone's eye, and music as though they were utterly mundane? Despite our best efforts, sometimes we can all see remnants of our own behavior in this sin. But we have to wake ourselves up and renounce these bad habits to be truly present to life. This is not a trivial matter. This could mean the difference between living a life of meaning and living a life unfulfilled. Yom Kippur reminds us that our days on earth are numbered and short. We don't have time to not stop and listen to the violinist on the subway. We don't have time to miss the sunset. We don't have the time to spend on our phones and not with each other. So in this Yom Kippur, how can we stop a gradual descent into living life like drones on autopilot and dedicate ourselves to seeing the sacred? One of the best ways to open ourselves up to the beauty around us is to foster a sense of gratitude. Now, our tradition not only encourages gratitude, it demands it of us. In the Talmud, Rabbi Meir says that a person is obligated to say 100 blessings every day. Blessings have to be recited for any joy that one receives, from food to natural wonders to momentous occasions in our lives. One might ask, what's the point of all this? If God is truly infinite, then surely saying motzi over a piece of bread or a bracha over a rainbow is of little concern to God. Yes, this might be true. Saying a prayer probably doesn't affect God. But singing praise and gratitude does affect us. So when we forget to say thank you for something, we're stealing, not from the person who gave us the gift, but from ourselves. We rob ourselves the opportunity to feel thankful, to appreciate the blessing that we've received, and to feel blessed ourselves. How much would our entire perspective on life change if we found 100 moments to stop and feel gratitude every day? Or even 10, or 5? A classmate of mine taught me a spiritual practice that helps direct my mind towards gratitude. Whenever we pray the Amidah, I always stop at Hoda'ah, the Thanksgiving prayer, to spontaneously think of 5 things in my life that I feel grateful for. They usually consist of friends or family that I feel blessed to have. Sometimes they can be things as simple as the shoes on my feet. This practice is very simple, but its effect is absolutely profound. And I encourage you to try it for a few days. When you find a moment alone, stop and ask yourselves, what has given me joy today? What have I learned? When have I felt loved by my friends and my family? And when was I able to share my love with them? By fostering gratitude in our souls, we make our lives holy and see ourselves as connected to something greater. This idea was central to Abraham Joshua Heschel, the most prominent American theologian of the 20th century. He believed that the core of spirituality is fostering a sense of radical amazement. Heschel asserted that we have to get up in the morning and look at the world in a way that takes nothing for granted. Everything phenomenal. Everything is incredible. We must never treat life casually. Radical amazement teaches us to live our lives with a sense of awe at the universe, and that it is ultimately our responsibility to train our minds to find the sacred in the world. When we go into nature or feel a connection with another person, we should cherish the moment and experience the presence of something holy within it. Heschel's philosophy tells us that we have a fundamental choice to make. We can live our lives as though everything were mundane, sneering at the stars, mocking the dawn, or scoffing at the totality of existence. But we can truly live the life of the Spirit. The life of the Spirit is something that Albert Einstein truly embodied, a man who helped uncover many of the mysteries of the universe. His science attempted to explain the physical universe, and one might expect that he was trying to transform our awe and wonder at the cosmos into mundane science, phenomena completely explainable through mathematical equations. That wasn't the case. Einstein asserted that his scientific discoveries increased his wonder, for he felt that he was uncovering the mind of God through his physics. He famously asserted that science without religion is lame. Even in dry scientific equations, we can find the presence of something bigger, for the beauty of the universe permeates everywhere. That is, if we allow ourselves to see it. Of course, treating our lives as works of beauty does not just involve radical amazement or finding moments of gratitude, but it also requires us to find meaning in even the most mundane parts of our lives, and especially in our work. In reflecting on the work that we do in our lives, the biblical pessimist Ecclesiastes writes, "All is futility. What profit does a man have of all their labors under the sun?" Now, Ecclesiastes speaks to the kind of tediousness that many people feel in their labors. When we feel unfulfilled, we can sink into this kind of pessimism, that no matter what we do, we cannot create a lasting accomplishment. Now, not willing to succumb to this kind of despair, the Zohar, the preeminent text of Jewish mysticism, offers a very different view than Ecclesiastes. It sees the futility that Ecclesiastes speaks of as referring to human acts done under the sun, that is to say, labors done as a means to an end, but which are ultimately tedious and despair-inducing. But there is hope, because the Zohar says that when we direct our work outwards, away from a place of self-centeredness and towards connecting with other people, our work will be done over the sun. What could the Zohar mean by this? The answer I find comes from the Torah. After Adam eats of the tree of knowledge, God asks Adam a rather peculiar question. Ayeka, where are you? Rabbi Arthur Green sees this question not as an inquiry into Adam's location, but as an invitation for him to step out from his place of shame and encounter the totality of existence. Green also sees this question of where are you as the primordial question that each one of us experiences. We are all called to question where we are in life, to acknowledge the sacred in the universe, and to contribute through our lives and our work to God's ever-evolving creation. We all know people who answer the calling of Ayeka in meaningful ways, from the teachers who help shape the next generation, the EMTs, firemen, and police officers who save lives, the nurses and doctors who heal the sick, the businessmen who create new technologies, and the moms and dads who love their children unconditionally. The question we have to ask ourselves is whether we see our work as a means to an end, or whether we truly see ourselves as answering a calling from the depths of our souls. Our lives are not mundane and meaningless, and if we see them through the right perspective, we can see that there is true sacredness in everything that we do. Gratitude, radical amazement, and finding meaning in our work. These suggestions are not about fundamentally changing the circumstances of our lives, but rather about improving our vision so that we have the correct perspective on them. One of my favorite midrashim demonstrates the importance of having the right perspective on life. This midrash asks the question of what the distance between paradise and purgatory is. Rabbi Yochanan says, the breadth of a wall, but Rabbi Hanina says, only the breadth of a hand. This midrash teaches us that heaven and hell are not actually two different places. The exact same set of circumstances can create either of them for us. The only difference is our vision, our perspective. The choice is ours whether we go through life seeing ugliness and banality, or whether we truly find the sacred. Now, the end of American Beauty is not really a happy one for our friend Lester, as he tragically meets the end of his life. Even so, He gives us eternal hope for spiritual revival by saying this at the very end of the movie. That day, I realized that there was this entire life behind things, and this incredibly benevolent force wanted to let me know that there was no reason to be afraid, ever. And it helps me remember that sometimes there's so much beauty in the world. Sometimes I feel like I can't take it. I feel like I'm seeing it all at once, and it's too much. My heart fills up like a balloon that's about to burst. And then I remember to relax and stop trying to hold on to it. And then it flows through me like the rain. And I cannot help but feel gratitude for every moment of my life. Achen yesh Adonai b'makom hazeh. God is in this place, and I truly hope that we will all know it.